Hi everyone, big fan here. Welcome to my ASL7 finals preview. So Etern versus Protoss between Last and Mini, that will be taking place in 2 days from now. So this upcoming Sunday on the 17th. I'll be talking about the climb to the finals, the overall results, the play styles, and then the final outcome. So if you look at the climb to the finals, it was quite turbulent for both players. Starting off with Mini, he did go through only 0 players, Larva, Zachary, Calm, Effort. Effort was probably the biggest, most impressive win though, because he really was prepared for the matchup. On the other hand, for Last, it was a mix of a lot of different races. So he beat Sulky with that bunker rush, Snow on blockchain. He beat Sharp 3-2 in the quarterfinals, and then beat Rain 3-2 on the semis. So you can see still a pretty decent mix overall, and he did beat two of the best uh, Protoss players in Rain and Snow. So what about the overall results? So if we look at spoon banks, what we see is that Last has barely played any in the last 2 months, 29 games. So he's basically focusing on this just like he was doing during KSL1, where he won the finals and got his first championship. He did have a decent win rate overall though. Mini, on the other hand, has played about 150 matches, 61% win rate, but the majority of those were versus Zerg, about 111. He did play about 24 games versus Terran, 75% win rate, not too bad, but a bigger sample size would still be nice. On the other hand, if you look at TLPD just to see, win streaks, all that kind of stuff, Lad doesn't have a win streak right now, but he has beaten a lot of Protoss players. So we know about Rain and Snow this ASL. We know about Shuttle and Best in the last ASL, where Last played a really fantastic game versus Best on Circuit Breaker. Fantastic macro game, not much mistakes were being made. And we also know about his KSL1 run where he was beating Rung 2, Movie, and Mini himself. On the other hand, Mini is on a 3-game lose streak. His last loss was actually to Flash 0-3 in the last ASL6. But Mini was also trying some different ideas there against Flash, and unfortunately they didn't work in his favor. If we skip after that, we go to their meeting. So did the two of them ever come to face off? They faced off twice in the last year. One of them was KSL1, where Mini did win their first encounter. He won 3-0, destroyed Last totally. Once Last became serious, started practicing in secret, and kicked things up a notch, he ended up winning 3-1 in the rematch, and he eliminated Mini. So you guys can see this is Last's favor, so he's the happy face here. They did also meet in ASL6 in I believe the RO16, but Mini actually beat Last's 2-fac on Sylphid, but they both still advanced from the group. So even though Mini did win, it's not the same as being eliminated from the tournament. So all in all, both players, good results overall, but not as much info in some places. What about their play styles? So as we saw during this tournament, Last has actually become quite the well-rounded player. He's able to play the macro game. He knows how to prepare well. He's not afraid to throw cheese out, and I think that's extremely important when playing against Protoss. You need to be able to vary up your game. He's also extremely confident in his game, which we saw, in the post-game interview, because he has been practicing with Stork, who has an amazing understanding of PvT, so he's able to help him out. Now, one of his weaknesses is the build oriented, so I do think this is a good idea to know. You need to follow a build because that will give you the optimizations that are important. But if you're someone who's not able to deviate as easily, it might be problematic. So I'm thinking against Calm, the way Calm basically prepared their really amazing game on Whiteout against Last this ASL. It felt like if Mini prepares really well and throws a wrench in Last's build, he may be able to get a win or out. The other thing is his weak wrists. He did play really well against Rain at 400 APM, but there's no telling just, if these 1 to 2 weeks of break will help him recover. On the other hand, Mini is a crafty player. We saw it versus Effort. He does have a strong PvT, or had at least in the past, and seems to be doing okay spoon bang wise. He also does have a lot of amazing micro. I say at times because there have been times where he's fumbled it, but overall, I almost want to say Mini is a mix between Rain and Snow. in the sense that he can play really good macro at some games, and he has amazing macro micro games at others. And when you add in that he can be really crafty, well, it's a pretty decent mix overall. The only thing about Mini is two things. First of all, he lacks experience, especially on the final stage. The other thing is that he can be quite emotional as well. So if you're quite emotional, this can be a good or a bad thing. If he's quite emotional, it becomes very easy to lose sight of the goal, which means that you know what, he's not able to channel it properly. But if he is able to kind of calm himself down and stay collected, then he could potentially take this just off of that, because that allows him to elevate his game as well. So what's the outcome? Well, overall experience wise, Last is the more experienced player. He's the more, I would say, solid player, and he has prepared extremely well against Strain, so he's already done some preparation, while Mini was focused more on the versus Zerg. However, if Mini is able to throw Last off his game and stay calm and collected, he can potentially win the series. It honestly depends mostly on what Last does. So if Last comes in prepared himself, he's able to adapt to what Mini does, he scouts around carefully, his wrists are working properly, then Last definitely has the advantage. But overall, it's a pretty hard game to call. I do want to say it's more than likely Last at 3-1. I just can't, I mean, much like Mini versus Efforts, there is always a chance that Mini can upset, but considering everything, I do feel like Last is basically, it's his series to lose. So unless Mini really elevates his game a bit further. So thanks for dropping in, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think Mini will win? Do you think Last will win in the comments? And thanks again.